John here, back again with another random review, and today we're going to talk about review the 1995 true crime drama Casino, directed by Martin Scorsese. Now the plot here, it's Las Vegas in early 1970s. You have Robert De Niro in the film. Our main character plays Sam Rothstein, or Ace, and he has some mob connections, and he's now the head of the Tangiers Casino in Las Vegas. But as he starts to rise to the top, his success is jeopardized when his friend Nicky, played by Joe Pesci, is now in Las Vegas, and he's also an enforcer and a made man of the mafia. And he arrives in town with his own agenda, and also disrupting Ace's business is his wife Ginger, who's an ex-hustler and drug addict, and she further causes problems. And that is the plot to the film here. And again, directed by Martin Scorsese, who, brought us Mean Streets, which I've heard about the movie. Actually, I own the movie in my collection, but I just haven't seen the film yet. Same thing for Taxi Driver. I have that on Blu-ray, but I just haven't seen the film yet. I know it's one of those movies that I have to watch, and it's on my to-watch list. So I will check it out someday. Again, I do have the film on Blu-ray. Raging Bull, same thing. I do have the film in my collection, but I just haven't seen the film yet. Goodfellas, great movie, classic. The Departed, great movie. The Irishman, I know he directed that. I haven't seen that yet, but I know that has a big cast, and it's a long film. Killers of the Flower Moon, I did see that film. I remember there were some good performances in that, especially, I would say, from De Niro. But overall, I don't remember much about the film. But I do consider myself a fan of Martin Scorsese. And the film here was written by Nicholas Pileggi, who also did the book, and Martin Scorsese. Now, getting to the cast here. So you have Robert De Niro in the film. They also have Joe Pesci, Sharon Stone, James Woods is in the film, including Don Rickles, Kevin Pollak, and the cast here is terrific. The acting from everybody is brilliant. I would say for me, the one person that steals the show has to be Joe Pesci. I think his character in the film and performance is very intense. And again, Robert De Niro does a great job here, and you can't go wrong with when you have him and Joe Pesci in the same movie. I mean, they were already in Goodfellas and Raging Bull, but Joe Pesci for me here, I think, when I think about his filmography, this has to be his best performance. And I think he won the Oscar for Goodfellas, but, for me, if I think about Goodfellas, I would give that movie for De Niro or Ray Liotta. For me, Casino is Joe Pesci's movie. And I know that's a big statement and a bold statement, but he does, for me, has the best moments. His, scenes, whenever I think about, Joe Pesci in this movie, I think about the scene where he's chewing out Robert De Niro in the desert. I think about the scene where he's talking to Robert De Niro's banker in that one scene. He's like, "I'll crack your fucking head open in front of everybody in the bank." And, Joe Pesci, again, has the best moments. His character, his performance is just very intense. But everybody does a brilliant job. Everybody, again, from De Niro to James Woods, brilliant acting. I thought the casino, the Las Vegas setting, taking place in the 70s, was another great layer and backdrop to the movie for the story and the cinematography. The movie looked great. The direction here by Martin Scorsese is very masterful. Just the way that the story is told, and the first half of the film, to me, the flow of the story, it's all gas. It's like bam, 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 bam. And I would say in the second half, it kind of slows down a bit. which I enjoyed. And so, the first half of the movie, you're getting to know these characters and the story and, the situation. And then in the second half of the film, things start to, slow down a little bit in terms of, again, telling the story. The supporting cast, which I've already mentioned, James Woods, but Don Rickles is in the film. Even though, Don Rickles doesn't have a lot of dialogue, he works for Robert De Niro in the film, but, he's there. Kevin Pollak, LQ Jones, you've seen this guy before, recognizable. He has a recognizable face. Joe Bob Briggs, has an appearance in the movie. Now, I think he's in a couple of scenes where he has a conversation with De Niro. Frank Vincent. Frank Vincent, who was in Goodfellas with De Niro and Pesci. He would go on to be the character of Leotardo in The Sopranos. The character, I think, is Phil Leotardo. So Frank Vincent's in the film here again. Now, I know with Sharon Stone, she was nominated for Best Actress. But I think for that year, Susan Sarandon won for Dead Man Walking. Which is another great movie, great performance from Sarandon. I do wonder, though, and maybe I can throw this question out to everybody out there watching. Do you think that Sharon Stone should have gotten Best Actress for this role? Or do you think that Sarandon was more deserving for that movie? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that she could have won or should have won Best Actress? But, Sharon Stone's good here. I do like Sharon Stone, from Basic Instinct and stuff. Go. Talking to the dog here. Go, Bala. Go. All right, there we go. Now we're back. The violence in the movie. The violence is very brutal. You got the scene where Joe Pesci has the guy's head in a vice. The scene where Joe Pesci goes off on this one guy and is stabbing him with a pin at the bar. So the violence is brutal in the movie. And again, the dialogue is very memorable, especially from Joe Pesci. Again, I just think about that scene in the desert, where he's chewing out Robert De Niro, and, his delivery of dialogue is just, again, I go back to Joe Pesci, his performance. For me, he steals the show here, hands down. And, by this point, you got to think about it. Joe Pesci already done quite a few movies, from, Raging Bull to Lethal Weapon. He had already been part of that. Goodfellas, Home Alone 2, My Cousin Vinny, The Super. And, after this, I think he did Gone Fishing. Then, Lethal Weapon 4. And then he would have a good little break. I think he retired there for a little bit. Then he came back. But I'm a big fan of Joe Pesci. And I know with this movie, it's based on true events and stuff. And, of course, with every film, they're going to take liberties with certain, elements and, change up characters' names, and especially with a movie of this type, of this nature. And so, I think one time I did read a little bit into the backstory, but, I should be more familiar with the backstory, going into this movie here. But, overall, this is still a great movie. It's one of my favorite, mobster movies. And it's tough because, like Goodfellas is also a great movie. And this is kind of like the other side of the coin. But I guess that's my question with this review here. What do you guys prefer more? Do you prefer Goodfellas more, or do you prefer Casino more? I'd like to know what you guys think. Again, which do you prefer more? And yeah, so to quickly recap real quick, again, terrific cast. You know, the Las Vegas setting I thought was a great layer and backdrop to the story and plot. The direction is masterful from Martin Scorsese. Even the soundtrack is good. I didn't even mention that. The pacing of the film, you know, it's right near 3 hours. And yeah, you can make an argument that you could have trimmed back a little bit here and there. But it didn't bother me because, again, you have a great cast here. Brilliant acting from everybody. The violence is brutal. Another scene that I thought about is when they caught this one guy cheating and they beat his hand with a hammer. And again, Joe Pesci, to me, he steals the show here. You know, it's not to take away from De Niro or Sharon Stone. You know, even James Woods, you know, he's good in the film. He has a supporting role as a pimp. And Don Rickles is cool to see him in there, and Kevin Pollak and Frank Vincent. But yeah, Joe Pesci for me is the show stealer. But yeah, so Casino is a great film, and out of 10 for me, on a scale to 1 to 10, if I had to rate this movie, I'm going to give this film a 9. For me, this is a 9 out of 10 film. Again, just a great mobster movie and a classic of the 90s. But that's my review of Casino. I want to thank everybody for watching, and have a good day.